Okay, so I'm really excited today to have Christine, the car lady, on my podcast, Under the Hood. Second guest, Christine. How do you feel about that?
I feel great. Number 2 in your program, number 1 in your heart.
Exactly. So this podcast is for vehicle owners, vehicle shoppers, vehicle purchasers, anybody who's looking at the car business and has questions about it, whether you're in the business of doing a transaction or you're just not sure where to start. This is meant to be educational, information based, and we want to bring to consumers, basically we want to look under the hood of the business. That's why I called it Under the Hood. Right. So Christine is from The Car Lady, is awesome to have on today. This is an area, I have to admit, Christine, I am very, well, I'm poor, I'm bad. I'm just, for someone who's been in the car business for 20 years plus.
Yeah.
I still get nervous doing a product presentation to a client, and what the hell is the deal with the hood latch? Like, I can never.
Well, you know, it's so funny. The first time I went on breakfast television, when Kevin Frankish was still on the breakfast television morning show, the reason I got on that show is because they had done some kind of a segment about a technician had taken a customer's car through a drive-through. And I tweeted the show and said, that's not common practice. I'm the car lady. I own a company called The Car Lady Canada. I'd love to come on the show and talk about it. And they invited me to come on the show. So if it's 6 o'clock in the morning, Kevin Frankish comes down the steps. I'm out in the Queens, or the Bay and King, whatever that square is, Dundas Square.
Yeah.
And he comes shooting down. He goes, well, let's start with opening the hood.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can. Let's start right there. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, you think it's different on every vehicle. Every time I go to do a presentation, there was a couple of little tricks early on in the car business, and now they just don't seem to work. Anytime I'm out there, I'm always fumbling through it. And of course, they're always rolling their eyes going like, typical girl don't know how to lift the hood, you know? So It's embarrassing.
Well, the first trick is finding the release, right? So they hide them in different spots. Typically, they're down by your ankle on the left-hand side, where there's a hood latch release, because that releases the cable, because there's a safety mechanism at the front that you then push the thing over, it will release it, but it's a 2-step system. So you've got to release the cable, you got to release that first lock, and then you release the latch.
Okay, all right. Yeah. Interesting.
And the little latch, if you're looking for the lever, you know, and everybody's like this, it's typically,
that's me.
Yeah, the logo is typically right on the front. If you look just to the right of the logo underneath, it's typically under there.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Just to the right of the logo.
I'm going to go pop some hoods today just so that I'm an expert at doing it. I find that just glitches every time I go to show a vehicle. I'm like, oh, that freaking thing, I don't know how to get it open. Really
do most people want to see under the hood? Do most people want to see under the hood when they take delivery?
I don't know if it's a great question. I don't know if that's an old school technique that we just continue to do in retail because you feel like you need to do the hood and trunk presentation where you open up everything about the vehicle. I don't ever spend any time there.
No, it's so interesting. The delivery has changed so much. Like when I was young, I used to see the guys doing the delivery and they'd be like fluids, belts, and hoses. Now nobody cares about that. What they care about is Apple CarPlay, navigation, and get my phone hooked up, and can I get text messaging? Yeah.
Yeah,
interesting.
Totally. I can see that for sure. It does seem like when you're doing it for a client, they're sort of like, okay, when's this piece going to be over? So
well, it's still good information, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the most important thing you're going to do as a customer underneath the hood of your own car is not check the oil. Very few people do that. And in some cars now, it actually there's no transmission dipstick on most produced vehicles. And there's very few in the luxury market have an engine oil dipstick. For example, Audi and BMW don't come with engine oil dipsticks anymore. Everything's done electronically. So the most important thing you can show the customer is where to put your washer fluid.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So I pop the hood. I'm going to show the washer fluid. Is there anything else underneath?
Well, you could show that, like, again, some vehicles, the battery is not located underneath the hood, but there will be an auxiliary terminal which to boost from. So
Yeah.
if you want to show them that, that would be great.
Yeah. And I guess that's it. If you're stuck, those are really the things that
Uh-huh.
if I'm stuck, I'm calling the tow truck, but.
You just call me, Kim, I'll help.
So tell us about you, Christine. Like, where did you start in the car business? What's your story? It's so interesting. One car gal to another. Like, I have been fascinated with your story, where you start, where you go from here. So tell everyone, tell everyone a little bit about you and your business, but what you did before that also.
Yeah, so I started the car business when I was 16, and I got my first job in the lube lane of a dealership in my hometown. And I actually got the job a week after I got my license. So back when I got my license, you wrote your 365 in the morning and your license in the afternoon. And like every young girl, I was really interested in cars because I knew the fella that I was interested in worked at a dealership. Thanks. Yeah, so I got the job at the dealership working in the lube lane at a GM store. And it's interesting because I was the only woman in the shop. There were 17 guys. And I apprenticed out of that store and then turned a wrench for about 12 years. And again, I was the only woman. Always worked for General Motors at the time, and really parlayed it into a career. And I have to be honest, even though I was a unicorn,
Right.
It was a great stepping stone to building relationships, learning how to deal with customers, working on a program.
Yep.
And I really enjoyed my time there. But when I found out I was expecting my daughter, who's now 22 going on 23,
Wow.
You have to get out of the shop right away. There's no such thing as maternity coveralls.
Right.
You can't be around brake fluid. You can't lift tires. So that was the end of that. So then I thought, well, what can I do now? I've got a great speaking voice. I know a lot about cars. I had a lot of background in public speaking, from being a cheerleader in high school to doing, always being the narrator of the school play, public speaking contests. So I thought, well, what can I do now? So I'll start a company where I'm teaching customers about the car they bought. Because as a person in service, I knew the questions that they were going to ask me, and GM at the time had a program called Smart Car Care. Mm-hmm. And so I was the GM girl. So I basically said to the dealers, I'll come in and teach the show for you.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I had $300.
Yeah.
And I went down to the library. I made the worst looking flyers you've ever seen in your life. And I took my flyers in my used briefcase and I went dealership to dealership to dealership to dealership to dealership and convinced them to let me teach the show for them.
Oh my God.
And the rest is a career, 23 years later.
Oh my God, that's awesome. So what were when GM rolls out something like that, there must be a huge need.
Well, that was way back, right? That was pre-2008, like that's 1998.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So was it about like customer retention, bringing the client back to the dealership?
Yeah.
What was that program? The
original program was not so much about teaching people about the car they bought, but more about the service department. It was more of an introduction to service.
Gotcha.
Right. And then because I had the background, I wanted to take it a step further. So when I created my own program, we turned it from, oh yeah, this is our waiting area. Right. This is where you park your car. Yeah. We took it from that to, okay, now you've taken delivery of this vehicle. Here's what you need to know. Here's what you need to maintain. Here's how your gadgets work. Here's what this button means. Simple things like even when the intelligent keys and the smart keys came out, we spent a lot of time with that. So we're always building forward now with these events because the technology keeps changing. So when I took the program and changed it, I had to change too.
Right. And
turn it into more of a technology-based event. But we still highlight the dealership. Right. Winter tire program, detailing, regular maintenance. It can't be a 2-season business anymore. So Know Your Car Night, that's what we call our events, Know Your Car Night, bridges that gap.
That's awesome.
Thanks.
I really love this concept because I think for so many years, and maybe you can speak to this, I know from my experience on the retail side of the car business, everything was sort of always traditionally secret, hush, like we do things this way and the customer doesn't need to know. And I love that that's changing industry wide. There's no patience or tolerance for it right now. And that's a wonderful thing. But what I really love about what you're doing is that you're bringing, like, your client is the dealership, but you're serving their customer.
Correct.
And so your whole business is built on their customer getting what they need and being happy, being satisfied that they got the information and the education that they need. So really you're bringing the two worlds together, which is, I love that. We
did a study about 4 years ago where we went to a dealership and we said, okay, we've done your shows every month for this many of years. I've got the attendance of who's attended your event. Let's go back and see, based on attendance, how many of those people continued to service with your dealership from the last 4 years. And our retention rate was about 84%.
Oh my goodness.
So 84% of people who come to my event and learn about the dealership and let me thank you for your business, not an email. Let me say thank you for your business. Will retain back to the dealership for more than just warranty, for actual maintenance, CP work, as we call it.
Yeah, because I think there's some myths out there about servicing your car at the dealership. Now, I don't know how anyone gets away with not going back to the dealer with all the just the technology that's new. Like, how would you ever trust anyone else? But you can speak to that. But there seems to be this myth that if I go back to the dealership, I'm going to be charged more. That's really, I don't know if you ever hear that. That's certainly a question that we get on our end.
Yeah, I get that question all the time, right? Even at the events. I bought this car from this store. I'm having a nice time at this event, but Christine, do I need to service here?
Oh my God.
And then usually the answer is yes.
Right.
Yeah, there's a lot of myths, I think, about servicing at a dealer. I think everybody thinks, oh, they're on the take, they're trying to make money off me. The honest truth is the dealership doesn't really make a lot of money on oil changes, if any. All the money at a dealership in the back end is traditionally made from warranty claims.
Right.
That's the truth. So service is a great retention tool, right? But really, it's not a huge profit center. I mean, service makes money for the store, but the warranty really covers a lot of it. And I think people forget that if you take your car back to the store, we've got the training, right? The manufacturer is, I'm not working on Hyundai one moment, Hyundai next moment, BMW the next minute. I'm a GM tech, or I'm a Honda tech, or I'm a Audi tech. That's what I do. So so I've done that schooling. Now my manufacturer's trained me. The diagnostic time is cut in half. I've got access to all the schematics, and I've got parts at my availability. So if you take your car over to the Triangle store, you get a guy who's a generalized technician. I'm sure he does a great job, but he just doesn't have those particular advantages for working on today's cars.
Wow, like that is super. I never thought of it that way. And I can tell you, as being in the used car world, how frustrating it is. What did you call it? The Triangle dealer? I like that. So how often, I mean, now a lot of the time I take it directly to the dealer, especially if it's in a year or two old when you're.
Yeah. I'll give you another example if you like. Tires. When a dealership buys tires, Bridgestone, Michelin, Goodyear, wherever they get them from, right? From the tire stores, they come into the store. A dealership only racks a tire for 12 years. Or for 12 months. 12 months. So if they haven't sold the tire, typically within a certain amount of time, they send that back to the distributor, who then sends that back to the manufacturer. And then that tire cycles out of there at a discount to a big box store, maybe the place that sells the big packages of toilet paper.
Wow.
So a tire is only good from 6 years from date of manufacture, right? So now we've racked it. It's been sent back. By the time it makes it out of their inventory and ends up at it may already be 2 years old. So the tire you think is brand new, you're buying a tire that's actually already only good for 4 years now.
Wow.
And I'm not saying it happens every time.
Right.
And I'm not saying it happens, I don't want to get sued. But I am saying that there are some advantages, and particularly storage, obviously, too, right? Because when you buy your frozen shrimp at a place where you buy your tires, they're not storing your other set for you.
Oh, I didn't know that. You see, again, I'm in the used car world, so I didn't realize that the franchise store will
store the tires. 99% of them do tire storage.
Which makes sense for the dealer, because then of course you're going to have the dealer put them on.
Yes.
I love it. I just love that. It's thinking what both, what both sides need, instead of,
Yeah.
I need to get this done for my business. We're
Yeah.
starting, and I think for a long time, the car business has been needing to start to focus on programs like yours that talk about retention, education, and it all makes sense. If I give, we say this a lot, when you give, you get. And I think that's your company is a perfect example of that. It's so funny. One thing that I noticed when you were saying your story about your, I wanted to call it education night. That's not what you call it though.
Know your car night.
Know your car night. When people come up to you as you're standing in the dealership,
Yeah.
and say, hey Christine, like, I know that you're here doing this for that, but do I really need to take my vehicle here? And you can stand there and genuinely, with the relationship that you just built, because that's really what happens, people are looking at you and you're building that relationship of trust and educating them, and then they can say, do I really need to come here though?
Yeah. And the truth is, it's their car, right? They can take it anywhere they like. But I'm hoping that I've educated you about the products and the services that the dealership has, so that you'll make a decision to take it back to the store. That's our goals.
I can't tell you how many times on the used car side of things, we see a customer trade in their vehicle and they don't even know what it can do.
Oh yeah.
No idea with the technology.
That happens a lot. Yeah. Well, you see, the delivery goes so quick. You deliver cars all day long, right?
Yeah.
By the time you get through the paperwork, and you get them out to the car, and now you've hooked up their phone, right? And God knows what kind of phone they have. I mean, flip phone. Oh, by the time you get that done, you don't have time to talk about the button that heats the glass at the bottom of the windshield, or, where your hood, your wheel locks are, or stuff like that. Like, it really goes so quick, and people are in a time limit. Like, I got to go. Give me my car. I want to drive it. Right. And so we sort of bridge that gap for a lot of stores, where we will come in and say, okay, let me show you what we've got now, because the sales to service handoff isn't happening the way we'd like.
No. Yeah. No, absolutely.
Yeah.
So what about, these are questions that I have, and I'm a little bit embarrassed to ask them, but if I'm asking them, I've been in the business 20 years, I know people don't know. So how often do I have to change my oil for real?
Yeah, for real. For reals. Okay. You should change, if the vehicle's under warranty, obviously you want to change it when the manufacturer recommends that you do so, because you can void the warranty if you can't prove regular maintenance. Now, I say prove, not do. So you got to be able to prove that you've done it, whether you've done it with us or the store, or you've done it somewhere else. You have to be able to prove that you've done it. So that's a work order, an accounting. I mean, when I was young, we used to do our own at home. Right? But you had to show the parts that you bought and the number of kilometers in the vehicle. I don't do that anymore. And the reason I don't,
you don't do it anymore.
I can't. I never do any of my own maintenance. Dollars wise, it's not worth it for my time.
Right.
By the time I recycle my oil in the filter, I could have gone to the dealership and had it done.
Right.
Right. So, so how often you really need to change it is when the manufacturer recommends. And most vehicles today also have oil life monitors, or what they call a maintenance minder. Yeah. So the car will tell you when it's time to come in.
Right. And you should do it then, not like me.
You do it then. Now, say you're traveling. I get this question a lot. Christine, I'm going to be away, but I'm due for a service. If I'm not there in the minute that they tell me to, are they going to void my warranty? The answer is no. Most manufacturers will give you what they consider to be a grace period. For most, it's 2 tankfuls of gas. So for most of you, that buys you another $1,200K.
Awesome. Okay, here's my next one.
Okay.
My tire pressure is low and I need air. How do I know when to stop filling it?
Yeah, good question. So 2 things that you need. First thing you need to do when you see the low tire pressure light, a lot of cars have what they call TPMS, tire pressure monitor sensor. Right. So if you see the low tire pressure light, it means that you need air in the tire. Some cars will even tell you which tire it is. Some, it's an Easter egg hunt. You got to figure that out. Okay. If you take it back to the dealership, they'll put a tire pressure gauge on each tire, and they'll tell you which one needs work or needs air, and they'll fill it up complimentary. If you take yourself to the corner gas station to put some air in the tire, I would invest in a tire pressure gauge.
Okay.
And you can buy those at the Triangle store. That you can even get digital ones now. Like before they had a stick that shot out and you had to read that.
Yeah.
Now you can get a digital one. You just put that on the valve stem and it'll tell you digitally exactly how much pressure is in the tire.
Okay.
But just take note that when you're looking at the tires or the valve stem, if you've got a little green cap on the end, it may mean that you've got nitrogen in those tires rather than regular compressed air. Now you can put regular compressed air into a nitrogen tire, but the next time you get service, just swap it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Very, very cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you a toughie. This is probably very personal for me too, but what was it like being in the car business in a time when like there was no ladies in the car business, let alone in, as a technician? Like, I can't imagine. I walked onto the sales floor when there was no ladies in the car business, and the reaction way back then in the 90s was odd would be a kind word. So what was it like for you to be a technician in a time when there were no women in the car business? And is it different now? Like, do you find there's a major difference now? How are you received on your Know Your Car nights? Right. With people? Like, are they open to the fact that you were a technician and they just walk right in and trust you? Or is there some hesitation because you're a girl?
It's funny, I was going through my Facebook feed last week and a memory popped up that a man came up to me about 4 years ago in Milton after an event, and he said to me, "That was pretty good for a girl." Oh. I thought, and at first I was kind of offended, but then I was kind of flattered, like, oh, he thinks I'm a girl. Well, listen, Kim, right? You've been in this business a long time. You've got a very successful company. As a woman, you've made it happen for yourself and you've made the steps to do it. That's simply what it is. It's just about, you do have to have a bit of a thicker skin. I have to admit, as a technician and even being a woman in the car business, I've always been treated really, really well. I think I've never had the nonsense I think that some people go through. And I hear those women and I really feel for them, because I just had 2 conversations in the last few weeks with one woman who's in sales and one woman is in service, and they're both leaving the car business after this is over because of the way they're being treated at the store. So disheartening, right? Yeah. I got to admit, I never really put up with a lot of nonsense because I had the background and the education, but I would like to see more women get into the business, and I would like to see the doors being opened a little bit more. Like, we need to have mentorship, I think, even at the high school level, where if I was invited to speak at a high school about what it's like to be a woman in the car business and the opportunities that are there, right? Flip the script. Mm-hmm. Like, now's your time to shine if you want to get into service. So I think there's, I personally have not experienced a lot of nonsense and a lot of any type of harassment at all, which I'm very thankful for. But I can see how it happens. And I can see that it would certainly drive some people from our industry. I'm sure you've seen the same.
Yeah, for sure. I have a similar experience in that I think maybe part of it was being so young and not realizing maybe certain things that would be said, so that made it easier. Certainly nothing ever done. I mean, I worked for such a great auto group right from the beginning, trained really well. I was educated. I knew what I was talking about.
But there is always those jokes, isn't there? There's always always that couple of people who've got they're not harassing you, but they're making comments and or what they consider to be jokes. Yeah. That in today's world would be what I consider to be an HR nightmare.
Oh, yes.
Right? Yeah. And they're just trying to test your leather a little bit, right? Just to see if you're that girl that's going to go squawking.
Right.
Sometimes you do have to suck it up a little bit, but you never have to take harassment. You never have to take abuse. You never have to take, all the things that comes with that. Right. You can be successful in the business, and it's not a game. You can be your own woman in this business.
Right. Yeah. I find that learning how to be in my own skin and be confident in my own skin. I don't know if it was like a repellent of the nonsense,
Right.
but that was for me key, is really just coming into my own, knowing that I had it. Not, you know, a lot of the times when I look back, it was mainly to try to pull me down off of a success trajectory, I'm trying to say.
Trajectory, yeah.
I can see that now in hindsight, and that's probably, you know, if I was going to say to anybody young getting in, is get educated, get confident, and, you know, you got to have the thick skin.
And I think you need a mentor.
Yeah.
Right? Wouldn't it be great? Like these women that I was speaking to, like I said, who've now decided for whatever reason, they're probably going to leave the business. I wish they had reached out to me 6 months ago.
Yeah.
And we could have a dialogue, even a weekly thing where I'm just texting them, hey girl, you know, here's a new idea for the week. Or, you know, I think that's a growth industry, but I'd be happy to be a mentor. And I know you would be too.
Yes. Yes.
Right? So I think you and we could even lead a charge on that, where we're actually reaching out, because they're not calling us.
No.
Right? We need to reach out and say, this is available. There's no charge, girl. Give me a call. I'm here to help you.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I'm in for that.
I'm in for that too. Let's dial that out.
Call me.
Call me. ABC, always be closing.
Right. So I'm going to wrap things up here soon. What would be, Christine, one of the things that you would want every car owner to know? Or a few things. That's a biggie, maybe.
Yeah. Well, there's 3 things you need to know about the vehicle. Go, stop, emergency. Okay? Okay, so you need to make the car go. So what are you going to need? Right? You're going to need good tires.
Yeah.
You're going to need that engine needs to be lubricated with good product. And you're going to need good fuel. Now, also, when you're filling up your fuel tank, make sure that you're not overfilling it. Right? Some people do.
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah, knock that off.
Why?
Because you're ruining a unit attached to your gas tank called a charcoal canister assembly that's designed to remove vapor from in the tank. And when you chronically fill it, you actually flood the canister every time, and eventually it'll quit. It's about a $1,400.
Never said that to me.
Yeah, so knock this off.
Yeah.
Yeah, so go, right?
Yep.
Oil, tires, fuel.
Yeah.
Stop. Brakes. So many people think, oh my God, oh my God, I want my brakes to last forever. They don't last forever. No. If you maintain them, if you do a brake service, it'll save you money on brake replacement.
Okay.
So if you clean the brakes you've got and keep them moving freely, you'll actually spend less money on replacing brake components down the road. A lot of people don't realize that.
Will my dealer remind me of that when I'm in?
Yeah,
part of the regular.
It's a recommendation. Again, it's not part of the warranty process, but if they recommend brake service, I always tell people to take it.
Okay.
And the last thing is emergency. So are you prepared for an emergency? Do you know where your locking wheel nut key is? Right? And I'm not expecting you to keep booster cables in the car. For the most part, I got to be honest with you, keep the hood down. You can't fix your own car at the side of the road.
Right.
When you stand there with the hood up, what you're telling people is, I'm alone and I'm stranded. If you're a crazy person, come and rob me.
Right.
Hood down.
Okay.
You know how to call for help. Do you have a piece of paper, an actual piece of paper with a few phone numbers written on? Because what happens if this is dead?
Right.
Right? Do you have an ability to call, or if somebody approaches the vehicle, could you have them make a call for you? Do you know who to call?
Right.
Right? So emergency. Do you have a decent pair of walking shoes in the car? Don't be skipping around stilettos all the time.
That's awesome.
Right? Do you have a large garbage bag in the car? 2 things it can do. 1, it could hold rain if you get thirsty. It could be a rain jacket if you need to walk. Yep. Or it could be a place to put the dirty old tire that you had to maybe pull off yourself so that you're not mucking up your whole car. Big garbage bag. 3 things it does.
That is huge.
Thanks.
That information is huge. You've changed my life.
You changed your life. Yeah, I'm so happy.
I'm serious.
Yeah, go, stop, emergency. Those are my key things everybody needs to know.
I am not prepared for an emergency. And I'm going to tell you a quick story. I was going from one dealership when I was consulting a couple of years ago in northern New Brunswick, and I can't remember the name of the road, but they sent me on a shortcut from one dealership to the other. It was dusk, and they said, you'll be fine. You do lose cell phone like halfway through.
Right.
And it's a dirt path, like cuts right through the province almost, but it's faster. Okay, so I'm going along and I get halfway through with no cell phone. I realize I'm not sure if I've got enough gas because I haven't really tracked this whole thing. And it's winter time. The snowbanks were up above my truck.
Yeah.
And I'm going, literally holding on to the steering wheel going, if I break down, pop a tire, get into I'm literally dead because nobody's going to find me.
Yeah.
I'm in the middle of nowhere.
And you didn't have anything with you. I mean, it's one thing if you don't have a phone, but you got to have a blanket, a decent pair of shoes, the garbage bag. I mean, if just a few basics, right? You know what I do? I keep it in a duffel bag. And then when I trade cars, I just move it into the next bag.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm writing that down. I'm putting everything in my car today.
No stop emergency.
And I'm not doing this anymore.
Nope.
I love that part. It's like, get my little extra cents in. Doop, doop, doop.
Yeah. But then you'll have to pay for a $1,300 canister. So knock that off. Hey, listen, you're in Nova Scotia, right?
Yep.
I want to say send big love to you and everybody out in Nova Scotia. Big love. We did the Wear Red campaign. Are we going to do that again? Is Nova Scotia going to keep that up?
I don't know. I think we probably should. We definitely need some, uplifting spirits. The premier came on right before the weekend and opened up the parks and said, we're probably a little bit too early to do this, but people have to get out and breathe, enjoy.
I know everybody in Canada is thinking about Nova Scotia, and we're all sending you big love out there.
Thank you so much. Just crazy time, but we still, the only thing that we can probably do other than support each other is just keep gratitude always. That's what I try to do. Just keep grateful for what I do have. So.
Yeah, I'm not working right now. So I've got, I'm looking forward to getting back though.
Yes.
As soon as it's safe.
Oh my goodness. We didn't talk anything COVID. One question before you go.
Okay.
If my car's sitting in either my driveway or, in my apartment building, it's inside, it's outside, do I need to move it if I'm not driving it every single day? Like, is there anything I need to do to make sure that it's not screwing up?
Yeah. So what I would recommend that you do, first of all, make sure you check the tire pressures so that you're not getting any flat spots. So take that vehicle over to the gas station and follow the tips I gave you earlier about filling up your tires. Second, keep the gas tank as full as you possibly can. Don't let it sit for weeks on end at half, because the difference between the top of the tank and the level of fuel, condensation will build into the tank, which will increase the sludge that lives in the bottom. So try to keep the tank as full as you can. Before you drive it, make sure you lift the hood and check and see if you've had any critters building up any nests in there. Yeah. Okay. Because all the animals will find a spot to, like pine cones and nuts, and they'll store things into there. So make sure you take a look at that. And lastly, take the car out at least once a week for what I call the good zip.
Okay.
So get it up to a good operating temperature at least once a week.
Okay. Go for a drive.
Go for a drive.
I love it. I love it. Christine, where can everybody reach you?
You can find me on my website, thecarlady.ca. And of course, always connect with me on social media at The Car Lady Canada.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for being on my little podcast under the hood. I hope to get you back on again.
I'll be listening.
Yes, for sure. That's awesome. Thank you.
Stay safe out there in Nova Scotia and take good care of yourself.
Will do. You too.
Thanks.
Bye for now.
Bye for now.
So that was awesome.
Thanks. That was fun.
I just love doing this.
Who was the first guest?
He was a gentleman from, here, I'm trying to press pause here.